Hi, sweetie pops.
Hello, Sia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. No one's ever called me Sweetie Puffs before.
You could be cute. You could be also cute pants if you like.
Oh, sure. You know what? I'll take anything. I'm good. I just need the affection. How are you doing?
Oh, today was a hard day, but I'm doing great right now talking to you.
Well, good. You know what? That's fantastic. I love your attitude. Are you? Well, let's start off. Let's talk about new music. Why don't we just get that out of the way for right now? Because I got so many things I want to talk about. I had read earlier this year that you have two albums that are ready to go. And then I read that not only that, but you've got a movie too. So can
Yeah.
can you kind of hold my hand and a little bit and kind of walk me through how all of this is going to work and how it's going to connect? Because it sounds very exciting.
Well, I basically wrote and directed my first film about 4 years ago, and then it took me maybe 3.5 years to edit because I had a lot of pressure on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself for it to be
And I'm
exceptional.
sure that, obviously it's a lot different making something that's 4 or 5, maybe 6 minutes long versus something that's 90 minutes, 2 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
that had to be grueling.
Absolutely grueling, and also it was 40 days in a row, and then there's the narrative, and then there's the transitions into the musical pieces which take place in the main character's um, imagination, and that's Maddie Ziegler, and she plays the character of music, and she is quite low functioning on the autism spectrum, and
Hmm.
but within her imagination she's completely unbridled by any of her, like, whether you would call them disabilities or special abilities, and I don't know why. I don't even know how it came. I had a story, it popped in my head, I wrote it. 10 years later I wrote a script. uh, 12 years later I wrote a better script with a different screenwriter, and then I like wasn't confident enough to make the movie until another 2 or 3 years had passed, and then I made it, and then it took me 3.5 years to edit, to the extent that I felt confident, because I really thought I had to be exceptional if I was going to be. I just was really afraid. Really, my ego was really afraid that it was going to
Yeah.
be perceived as a vanity project.
Well, sure. And if you're going to do something that, on such a grand scale, you want to do it right. And obviously, you got to have some help to make a dream like that come true. I mean, like, how are you able to fund the movie? I mean, movies aren't cheap.
Sneaky thing. So what I did is, well, I didn't, but my management did. They did
Hmm.
a really amazing, incredible, sneaky thing that no one's ever done before. So they basically got two labels in a bidding war for my
Oh.
next three albums. And then we got them up to the highest possible thing that they would give me for my three albums. And then we just said to them, okay, whoever will lend you $16 million to make a movie gets all the albums.
That is brilliant.
And then
Absolutely brilliant.
one of them offered the 15 million, and then the other one said, we'll give you 20.
Uh,
So I ended up with 20 million spare, but I only spent 16.3 because there's certain, like, basically if you go over a certain amount of money, you then have to pay everyone like another scale, and it
Sure.
cost me another 2 million to make the movie. So we kept it under 16.3, and
Unbelievable.
I mean, I was the luckiest person in the world. I had Vincent Landé as my producer, and I really have to say that a producer is just as important as a director, and I didn't know that until I made this movie. And he was the producer of Being John Malkovich and Adaptation and Her. And Spike Jones really helped me a lot during the filmmaking process, and J.J. Abrams, and um,
Wow. Going back a bit, like let's get to the album. So we've got is it a soundtrack for the movie? I mean, I would imagine they're tied together.
yeah, the first will be soundtracked with like Maddie Ziegler singing, Kate Hudson singing, Leslie Odom Jr. singing, and then just me singing together the lead single. And then the next album will be the soundtrack, which was before I changed all the lyrics to support the narrative of the film.
I
So
see.
wrote all these songs beforehand, plonked them in there, but was genius enough not to make
Yeah.
them lip sync. So they were just like incredible dance sequences. And so when we got to the end of the editing process, I went back and I rewrote all the lyrics to support the narrative.
Well, fantastic. Now we're going to see that. I believe that's next month in September.
I'm saying it's after Tenet. Basically, I think I'm doing a promo tour for Tenet.
Okay.
Tenet's some big movie and it's coming out at IMAX and other theaters. They're holding off. They won't release it like to streaming. They are absolutely holding off until theaters are open again. And so am I. I didn't realize, but I guess I shot a really cinematic movie. And so IMAX bought it. And I wanted to be on the biggest screen.
Yeah.
That was a huge, very big, good for my self-esteem feelings. But yeah, so all we know is if you see the movie Tenet's come out, which is going to be the first movie that actually comes back out in the cinemas because it's the big one. And then right after that, it'll be my movie. And the fact is I don't want to endanger anyone's health. I want it to be, it'll come out when it's supposed to. It's been 4 years since we shot it, so
all things in good time. So listen, around here, you weren't a part of this conversation, but I thought I would bring this up to you because we were talking earlier about classic movies and TV shows, and now you're a movie director and a movie star. So we were talking about movies and TV shows that we discovered for the first time since now we've been all spending time here at home during the pandemic. And I was curious, I don't know where you're spending time at home, but I'm sure you've been spending time at home. So what is there a particular show or movie that maybe you have rediscovered?
Me and my son, we've been watching, we started Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I just adopted a kid. I adopted 2 kids last year, 18 years old. They're 19 now. And I've been watching, we started Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, episode 1, season 1. So we're now about halfway through season 2. And it's been the best. It's a really nice bonding time for us.
Well, I don't know if you saw the news today, but apparently Will Smith is going to reboot, or it looks like he's presenting the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air sort of differently, like more dramatically. It looks like so. It's really interesting. I think all I saw was a news report, but the concept of it looks like it's hardcore Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's not like fun and light like family comedy. It's like sort of a drama.
He's kind of our hero at our house because he grew up in the foster system too. So my boys really have a lot of respect for him. So yeah, and his kids are great too. I wrote a song with Willow once, and then I saw Jaden at the Kardashians the other day. Before COVID. But he's like one of the most charismatic, wonderful people too. So
you know what, I will always be a fan. And Will is from my hometown of Philadelphia, so I always carry a little pride of having somebody from my hometown who's made it as well as he has.
I was born and raised.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Northwest Philadelphia, but not West. He was born in West Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia, I was born and raised.
It's got a nice ring to it. I was also reading an article too about recently you were talking about Katy Perry and what you guys have in common, and it's funny the way you had painted Katy as like sort of your Hollywood concierge. Is like she helped you find a doctor to make house calls and just kind of help you get adjusted to living there, but then I kind of look at you and I think about you and all of the friends that you've made and everyone seems to know and love Sia. And I'm like, I kind of see that being the other way. I feel like Sia being the one holding Katy Perry's hand.
I did hold her hand, but she was post Hollywood. I was famous after her. I was an indie artist when we first met. She was just coming up, and then she blew up, and then I blew up a few years later. And she was warm enough to, I guess, identify that it's quite confronting to suddenly become a big star. And she just took me under her wing and became my pop star concierge. And in turn, I became her, lockbox confidant. And that was our swap. Is that I just when she needed me, I was there.
Is adopting kids, was that something you have always wanted to do, or
I just
how did
watched
it?
a documentary on HBO and I saw this kid and I was like, oh, that's my son. And I tried to track him down and it took 2 years. And by the time he was 16 in the documentary, by the time I found him, he was 18. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
he said to me, hey, can I bring my my cousin, do you have an extra room? Because we used to be in a group home together and he's too pretty, he won't make it and he's really suffering at the moment. And I was like, I like so maniac. I was like, I'd never met either of them until that day, and I never met the plus one until he arrived at my house that night. And I said, sure. And suddenly I had two sons. And because they were 18, I didn't have to go through any of the palaver that most adoptive parents have to go through. Because
Okay.
it's considered an adult adoption. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I love them. I love them. And
that
it's
is
been really
amazing.
rewarding, like really rewarding. And
Yeah,
now,
I'm
and I never have to, like, I don't know. I just feel I know, I've studied attachment theory so much that I know how to be a secure base. I know how to heal attachment injuries from very early infancy, and
mm,
so I knew that nobody ever adopts 18-year-olds, and I knew that I could, and that I could keep them out of jail and
yeah, yeah, you really could
trying
I
to
mean,
put all those black kids in jail. It's designed that way, and I am strongly opposed to the corruption in the foster system,
mm.
and I wanted my boys to have a chance.
Well, they are the luckiest the luckiest guys in the world to have found you, that is for sure. And speaking of that, I know that you're keeping up with the US election as well. Were you super excited about the announcement yesterday of Kamala Harris? I know I was.
Actually, I was. I wasn't. I was. I was pleased.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's boss. She's a boss.
Yeah,
I'm
she
really
told me.
happy about
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait till November, and I can't wait to vote. I
that.
feel
Oh,
like we're never getting
everybody,
out of our houses.
please, everybody go vote. If you want to go to my
Yes.
Instagram at siamusic.com, you can, I mean, Sia Music. I'm so dumb. I'm so like grandma.
No,
I
you're
don't even run any of my socials. Um,
not.
I'm not even on
Me
Instagram.
neither.
It's crazy. Um, but if you go to my Instagram at sia.music, you can see how you can vote via mail.
Excellent.
And it gives you step-by-step ways how to vote via mail. So
But
please,
yes, and I wanted to tell you I really appreciate you also posting about the USPS, because the postal service, because of how important that is going to be to get our votes in this time around. So we've got to protect the United States Postal Service. But Sia, thank you so much. I do appreciate you taking the time, and of course we love your single Together, and I'm excited for the new album and the movie. Thank you so much.
thank you. You take care, and thanks for helping me promote my stuff. I really appreciate
Anytime. Thank you very much. You
it.
take care.
You too.